The harder she tried to pull it over his head, the smaller it seemed to become, until finally it might have fit a glove puppet, but certainly wouldn't fit Harry. Aunt Petunia had decided it must have shrunk in the wash, and so his great relief, Harry wasn't punished. On the other hand, he would get into terrible trouble for being found on the roof of the school kitchens. Dudley's gang had been chasing him as usual, when as much to Harry's surprise as anyone else. There he was sitting on the chimney. The Dursleys had received a very angry letter from Harry's headmistress, telling them Harry had been climbing school buildings, but all he would try to do, as he shouted at Uncle Vernon, that the locked door of this cupboard was jump behind the big bins outside the kitchen doors. Harry supposed that the wind must have caught him in mid-jump, but today nothing was going to go wrong. It was even worse being with Dudley and Percy. To be spending the day somewhere that wasn't cool. His cupboard on Mrs. Figg's garbage-smelling living room while he drove. Uncle Vernon complained to Aunt Petunia. He liked to complain about things, people at work. Harry, the closet, Harry, the bank, and Harry were just a few of his favorite subjects. This morning it was motorbikes, rolling along like maniacs. The young hoodlums, he said as a motorbike overtook them. I had a dream about a motorbike, said Harry, remembering sadly. It was flying. Uncle Vernon nearly crashed into the car in front. He turned right around in his seat and yelled at Harry, his face like a genetic bear-tooth with a mustache. Motorbikes don't fly. Dudley and Percy sniggering. I know they don't, said Harry. It was only a dream, but he wished he hadn't said anything. If there was one thing the Dursley hated, even more than his asking questions, it was his talking about anything, acting in a way it shouldn't, no matter if it was in a dream or even a cartoon. They seemed to think he might get dangerous ideas. It was a very sunny Saturday, and the zoo was crowded with families. The Dursleys bought Dudley and Percy large chocolate ice cream at the entrance. And then, because the smiling lady in the van had asked Harry what he wanted before they could carry him away, they bought him a cheap lemon ice lolly. It wasn't bad either, Harry thought, licking it as they watched a gorilla scratching its head and looking remarkably like Dudley. Except that it wasn't blonde. Harry had the best morning he would had in a long time. He was careful to walk a little away apart from the Dursleys, so that Dudley and Percy, who were starting to get bored with the animals by lunchtime, wouldn't fall back on their favorite hobby of hitting him. They ate in the zoo restaurant, and when Dudley had a tantrum because his knickerbocker girlie wasn't big enough, Uncle Vernon bought him another one, and Harry was allowed to finish the first. Harry felt afterwards that he should have known it was all too good to last. After lunch, they went to the Ripple's house. It was cool and dark in there. with lit windows all along the walls. Behind the glass, all sorts of lizards and snakes were crawling and slithering over bits of wood and stone. Trenton, because his knickerbocker gully wasn't big enough, Uncle Vernon bought him another one, and Harry was allowed to finish the first. Harry felt afterwards that he should have known it was all too good to last. After lunch, they went to the Platt house. It was so cool and dark in there, with lit windows all along the walls. Behind the glass, all sorts of lizards and snakes were crawling and slithering over bits of wood and stone. Dudley and Percy wanted to see huge prisoners, crowbars, and thick men crushing pythons. Dudley quickly found the largest snake in the place. It could have wrapped its body twice around Uncle Vernon's car and crushed it into a dusting. But at the moment, it didn't look in the mood. In fact, it was fast asleep. Dudley stood with his nose pressing against the glass, staring at the glittering brown coins. Make it move. He wished at his father. Uncle Vernon tapped on his glasses, but the snake didn't budge. Do it again, Dudley ordered. Uncle Vernon rapped the glass smartly with his knuckles, but the snakes just snoozed on. This is boring, Dudley moaned. He shoved away. Harry moved in front of the tank and looked intently at the snake. He wouldn't have been surprised if it had died of boredom itself. No companion except stupid people drumming their fingers on the glass trying to disturb it all day long. It was worse than having a cupboard as a bedroom, where the only visitor was Aunt Petunia hammering on the door to wake you up. At least he got to the rest of the house. The snake suddenly opened its brandy eyes. Slowly, very slowly, it raised its head until its eyes were on a level with Harry's. It winked. Harry started. Then he looked quickly around to see if anyone was watching. They weren't. He looked back at the snake and winked too. The snake jerked its head towards Uncle Vernon and Dudley, then raised its eyes to the ceiling. It gave Harry a look that said quite plainly, "I get that all the time." "I know," Harry murmured through the glass. Thought he wasn't sure the snake could hear him. It must be really annoying.